Hi there, I'm Mary Susie for Bead Me a Story, and today I'm going to show you how to do the Hoodoo stretch bracelet. This is called a Hoodoo weave. This is just a single row weave that I'll be doing today, and you can see it makes a really cute pattern with kind of stripes in the middle and then an outside edge to it. I am using rubber O-rings in this, which means that this is going to be a stretchy bracelet. And I will say too that this bracelet, a lot of times we like to take our rubber bracelets and roll them onto our wrist. It's the easiest way to get them on and off because they stretch. And this one rolls really well, wears really well, and it's very fun to make. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start the Hoodoo weave, the first thing we're going to do is create these little components. So you can see that they're a 1 by 2 by 1 component. So there's 2 jump rings in the center and 1 O-ring on either side of that pair. So I'm just going to pick up 2 rubber O-rings onto my first jump ring. And I'll close. And then I'll pick up a second jump ring, pass through both O-rings again, and then we'll go ahead and close. Okay, so very simple. We're going to make as many of these components as we need in order to create the length of this bracelet. So for me, that's 25. For you, it might be more or less than that. So use your size chart and see what you need. 25 rows is going to be about a 6.5 inch wrist. So if I measure my wrist, it would be around 6.5 inches. And that means that this is actually going to make 25 rows will make about 7 inch to 7.25 inch length. Okay, so now we want to start linking our rows together. But before we do that, we're going to have to establish this very first row. So we're going to treat it a little bit differently than we will the subsequent rows. So what I want to do is pick this up, and I'm going to pass from the inside to the outside of the jump ring that's on the left. Okay, and I also want to go down through this top rubber O-ring. Okay, so I'm going through one jump ring and through one O-ring, and I'm going from the inside to the outside of that jump ring. So from the center out. Okay, and that's one jump ring. Now we'll do the bottom. So if you need to flip it around so it's on the top. So we're just going to go through from inside to outside. And I could probably set that up a little bit better for myself. Okay, so see from the inside of the pair of jump rings to the outside. Now, it doesn't matter too much how well I close these 2 jump rings because we are not going to use these till we get to the very end of the chain. So these are just kind of place cards. They're just holding our place here until we get to the end and we need to connect back to the end. But it will hold this first row in place, which is why I do that. Okay, so now we're going to take our next jump ring, and this time we're going to be connecting to a new component. So we're going to be adding to our chain. So I want to go from the inside to the outside of this jump ring. You can see I'm on the bottom here. And then I'm going to come up from underneath the O-ring and from the outside to the inside of this next jump ring. Okay, let me turn this around. I need my tips in order to close this properly. Okay. And now I'm going to take this next one. Now you can do it 1 of 2 ways. You can go from the inside to the outside of this new component and then up through the O-ring and the jump ring over here. But in the video, I want to show you how to do it from the working side. This turned out to be easier for me. So from the working side, so I'm going from the inside to the outside, from top to bottom. So I'm working down on this unit. And then the new one that I just joined, I'm coming from below it, and I'm coming up through from outside to inside this jump ring. Okay, so just passing through the one jump ring. So by working from the unit that's already part of the chain and then working into the new unit gives me a little bit more room to get up through that jump ring. Otherwise, it just becomes all about angles and getting your angle right of getting through. So both ways will work, but I just found this way to be easier. Okay, so you can see after I get to the end of each row, and of course, you know, when you're in the first row, it's always a little bit more wonky, but I like to pull everything out so you can see that my O-rings end up being angled upwards in this. Okay, they're not going to sit flat. All right, so let's add another row. So we're just going to go from inside to outside, and we're going from the top to bottom down through the jump ring and the O-ring. I pick up my new section, my new component, and I'm going from the outside to the inside of this jump ring and up through the O-ring. Just turn your work as you need to reach things the easiest way as you're doing this. Okay, so you can see this new one here. And then, like I said, originally I was going from out here into here, but it's much easier because this is a little bit tighter in here to go from the inside to the outside of the jump ring, pass through this O-ring, and then be working on this new one that doesn't have connections on the other side of it. So here I'm going from the outside to the inside of this jump ring. I'm coming up from the bottom up through the O-ring and the jump ring. Okay, so this is really pretty easy stuff. This is not a hard weave to do, and it makes a really cute little bangle that I really enjoy the pattern of. I think this is really nice. So you see me stretching it out again, and you can see our little segments and how everything's tilting. So if I look at the bottom of it, these tilt together, but on the top they tilted together offset from that. Okay, so the lime green ones that you see here are tilting back and forth in the center. Okay, I'm going to just join one more. So we want to go from the inside to the outside, down through the O-ring, come up through the O-ring of the component we're adding, and then from the outside to the inside of the jump ring, just the single jump ring. And close. Okay, and then we're going to go through down through that jump ring and through the O-ring from inside to outside. And then we're going to come up through this O-ring here and up from outside to inside the jump ring and close. Okay. All right. So you're just going to keep doing this. Between each row, I like to stretch this out. It's going to help it lay properly, and it helps give you better access to your jump rings as you're trying to pass through each row. So do like to stretch it out at the end of each row. And then I'm just going to keep adding more components till I get to the length that I want it to be. And I have one pre-prepared for me here. Okay, so you can see this is stretchy. It has a really cute pattern to it. Little stripes, and then the outside edging in jump rings, and then of course the rubber O-rings are what makes it stretchy. Okay, so here's our beginning pair, and here's how it's going to end. Okay, so we just have that one center jump ring to work from, and at the beginning, if you remember, we added these on, and I said we'd use them at the end. So we're just going to bring this up and around, and you can see here that these are already passing through this component, and we just need to get it passing through this component. If you remember, this will be coming up from below, and this will go from outside to inside and come out the center here. Okay, so let me just reopen these up. And I'm going to bring this up. I'll pass through the O-ring first, and then from the outside to the inside. And you can see that that is going to just complete this pattern on the outside and match it up with everything we've done thus far. Okay, so there is one. And then here's my other one dangling off here. And now this one, if you want to take it out, you can. But I think we'll be just fine because we've already gone through this side. So we're just going to grab this jump ring on this back end here so we can feed it up through the O-ring, and from outside to inside this jump ring that's here. And close. Okay, and then that is pretty much it. So just like before, I like to, like I said, stretch out at the end of each row. So now we can go all the way around and stretch out, and you can see how absolutely cute this little bangle bracelet is. And despite the fact that we were using pretty normal average size jump rings that any beginner can use, this isn't a real big shape. It's not going to cover, so we've got 7.25 O-rings here. If they were laying flat, this would be about 15 millimeters wide, but this probably ends up being more like 10 millimeters wide because, of course, we have them, as I showed you, folded up, so it makes this a little bit thinner. It's also fairly stiff, so it's a nice bangle. It's going to go great with a lot of your other bracelets. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this. Please be sure to like and follow me on Facebook. We really appreciate your following us, and we will see you next time. And be sure to visit beadmeastory.com for either kits in this project or the supplies to make this. Thanks so much.